Hey guys, Rory here, just bringing you another vineyard update for this week. Bringing you some views from a place that, people don't get to see very often. We usually look at this vineyard from the bottom. This is the White Barn Vineyard, the aptly named White Barn Vineyard. You can see it on the left there, that the gardens own, and they own most of the land back up on top of the hill here. But this is a 15-acre of Zinfandel. It's our primary Zinfandel source, planted in 1978, Cannon clones on St. George, just an absolutely gorgeous vineyard. You can see sort of beyond the line of trees there, that's the top of the Dr. Crane vineyard that Andy Beckstoffer farms. And if you go down the road towards Highway 29, you'll pass the iconic Hain vineyard, the granddaddy, grand dame of all Zinfandel vineyards here in Napa Valley. So pretty cool, pretty special spot, just wonderful soils for Zinfandel. And we are here today to take petiole samples and to check out a cultivator working, which is kind of where we're at in the season right now. This got suckered last week, and it's time now. The grapes are basically at 100% bloom or even starting to come into set. And so we're going around and taking petioles, and I'll show you what that is. But I just kind of wanted to show you the beautiful view from the top of the vineyard here, right in the section of the vineyard we call second power pole. And that power pole is right there in front of you. There are actually 3 power poles in the vineyard. Why we only named 2 of them? Well, that's just because we're so mysterious here at Frog Sleep. But that's just one of the sampling blocks. You'll never show it. You'll rarely see it show up anywhere official, but we know this vineyard into several different sections based on how it ripens. And you can see kind of the way the vineyard curves. It curves up, and then there's a little dip and a little saddle in the middle. So this vineyard does ripen quite differently depending on where we are at in the cycle. So if you go back into Sulphur Canyon, you can see some of the cool hillside grapes up there as you work your way up towards Spring Mountain. So we'll talk about petioles here in just a second. So a good question is, what are petioles and why would we want to take samples of them? Petioles are basically the stem of the leaf blade. So not the leaf itself, not anything else on the shoot, just the little stick that connects the leaf to the main shoot. And the reason that we take those is because when we take an example from a certain section of a vineyard, we can take all those samples and send them to a lab. And in the lab, they'll actually turn those shoots into ash. And then they can analyze the mineral content of those petioles. And that's really important for us because that's our most surefire way of getting nutritional analysis from the vines every single year. It's actually required from our organic certification. And it's also just a really good idea to have that kind of information available to every year. Now, we want to take these samples so that we can get a good idea of how much nitrogen is in the plants, how much phosphorus, all this stuff, to be able to make rational decisions about cover crop, make rational decisions about what kind of nutrition the plants need. If they need, hey, are they low in nitrogen? Okay, let's plant some more legumes and more nitrogen fixers. Hey, are these really vigorous? Really, do they need to be slowed down a little bit? Okay, well, that informs other decisions. Are they low in calcium? Then we'll add a little bit of gypsum to the soil after harvest. And so things like that just allow us to make rational decisions and really check and see where the vines are at and also analyze any potential problems. So we'll get in close on a Zinfandel cluster here, and you'll be able to check out what the petiole is and how we kind of take a sample of it. So here we're in tight against a Zinfandel cluster that is essentially through bloom. So you can still see a few of the white flowers still clinging on to the cluster there, but you can actually see some of the spent flowers that have fallen onto the leaf below, indicating that this cluster is pretty well through bloom. We are not expecting this to, every basically flower pistil has come out and the fruit is starting to set, and that's telling us this is definitely 100% bloom, and that is the time when we take petioles. Why? It's because bloom is typically when the vines are the most nutritionally stressed. They're putting all their energy into making sure that they get healthy bloom, healthy fruit set. It's extremely important just reproductively and evolutionarily for these plants to do that. And so this is when we want to be sampling them and figure out when they're, when they're using all the juice they have access to, what are they failing at? What do they need, or what do they not have that may be affecting the way that they grow and the way that they, set quality fruit. This is a very particular petiole. This is the first, the petiole opposite the first cluster coming off the first shoot on either the first or second spur of a vine. We always take it from the same part of the vine, the same kind of, you can hear that formula there. That's the formula we use for taking all these. The idea is to keep a kind of consistent set of measurements across the years, because the vines will distribute their nutrition irregularly throughout the plant, depending on how far away it is from the trunk. So we're in there just taking this exact same petiole essentially every single year and snapping it off. And I'll try and show you some of that. So we just snap that off, remove the leaf, and all we have left is the petiole. So by the time we're done taking a sample from a particular block, we'll have grabbed a couple hundred samples, basically walking down these vineyard avenues and going every other vine, flipping sides, trying to take a representative sample, kind of similar to the way you'd be sampling for grapes, but we're sampling for different things now, obviously. Just love walking down these rows. White Barn's one of my favorite places to go, and looks especially nice right now because as you can see, the little stripe pattern on the ground is a cultivation pattern. This block has just been cultivated. Gabby's in the process of cultivating the rest of the rows. Cultivating is a pretty traditional process for us with dry farming. It's a way of basically taking a harrow, which looks like a bunch of hook tines that go down into the ground, that go about 9 to 10 inches deep into the ground, and they'll disturb the soil underneath. So it's not so much flipping the soil on top like a plow, but really trying to break up some of the compaction underneath the soil, and that helps redistribute moisture to the rest of the soil. You can, it's a little, if you've ever done the dirt tastings at the winery, you can see that moisture really exists just a few inches underground, and that the cultivations kind of help make that moisture more accessible to the vines. It's not so much adding moisture as it is making it easier for the vines to go get it. That's really important for days like today, because today is going to be a scorcher. It's already into the 80s here, and it's not even 10 o'clock in the morning. It's going to get up towards 100 degrees today, tomorrow, and the following day. So we're looking to help these vines, have easy access to the moisture that allows them to not shut down, not to break their stride essentially during these heat events. And that's pretty important for us since we don't typically look to, typically we don't have any way of adding water or, irrigating or anything like that. And at White Barn, we don't have overhead sprinklers to protect either. You can see the hoses in this picture are essentially an emergency backup system in case we do get a year like 2017, where you do have temperatures up into the 110s. Those are temperatures that will very much threaten vines. And we made it through 2017 without that, but this system is here basically to help ensure that these vines don't completely shut down on us during crazy events like that, which we don't anticipate happening very often. It won't be turned on this week, and we're not anticipating turning it on in the near future, but it's there as a backup plan. Always got to have a backup plan as a farmer. So that's where we're at in the vineyard right now, taking petioles. We're continuing suckering over at Gallerin Ranch, just getting started in the Sauvignon Blanc over there. We're cultivating. We're still pushing dirt over the weeds that have grown up under the vine to help smother them, and that's another form of our natural weed control. But basically tractor work, suckering, and just continued kind of monitoring of where we're at. So far it's looking pretty good, but we've got a hot week this week, and we've got Cabernet in bloom, so getting a little nervous about all that heat. We'll see how everything transpires. We'll catch up with you next week.